Iain Dale on LBC.
7:32 on LBC. We'll come back to your calls on Israel and Gaza in just a moment. But first, let's cross live to Washington. Simon Marks, as you know, is LBC's US correspondent. And he's been, well, I won't say listening into conversations between Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky, but he knows what they said. Simon.
That would really get me thrown out. Iain, apparently this conversation with Volodymyr Zelensky did not involve a screaming match. So a big win for everybody arising out of the hour-long telephone conversation that Donald Trump had today with the Ukrainian leader. The American president took to his own social media account to offer up the first report on how it had gone. He described it as very good. It lasted approximately 1 hour. Much of the discussion, he says, was based on the call made yesterday with President Putin in order to align both Russia and Ukraine in terms of their requests and needs. I'm bound to say there were some observers yesterday who found it curious that President Trump didn't immediately call President Zelensky after his call with Vladimir Putin and left it for 24 hours to give the Ukrainian leader a call and tell him what the Russian president had said. But nonetheless, according to President Trump in this statement, we are very much on track. He then left it to the Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the National Security Advisor Mike Waltz to offer up more details on how the call went. And they did so through a written statement that was read to reporters by the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Here's the beginning of it.
Today, President Trump and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky had a fantastic phone conversation. The leaders agreed Ukraine and America will continue working together to bring about a real end to the war, and that lasting peace under President Trump's leadership can be achieved. President Zelensky asked for additional air defense systems to protect his civilians, particularly Patriot missile systems, and President Trump agreed to work with him to find what was available, particularly in Europe.
President Trump, we are told, also agreed to continue sharing intelligence with the Ukrainians and their military. That, of course, is one of the issues that President Putin in Moscow insists needs to stop in exchange for his support for a full 30-day ceasefire, including the provision of military assistance by the US and Europe to Kiev. He wants that frozen as well. I mean, the way things currently stand, both leaders say they are now agreed on the need for a 30-day ceasefire that stops mutual attacks on energy infrastructure and power plants. Let's see what happens in the next 24 hours to see whether that actually takes hold. The Ukrainians apparently have agreed to further talks with the Americans on Sunday in Riyadh about whether it's possible to expand that temporary ceasefire to include a maritime ceasefire in the Black Sea. But getting further down the road from there is going to require diplomacy by the United States, given the laundry list of requirements that Vladimir Putin provided to President Trump yesterday, and Vladimir Putin made no concessions whatsoever about things like the Europeans and the Americans providing continued military assistance to Kiev. There was another head-spinning moment during Caroline Leavitt's presentation of that statement today about the conversation between Trump and Zelensky.
President Trump also discussed Ukraine's electrical supply and nuclear power plants. He said that the United States could be very helpful in running those plants with its electricity and utility expertise. American ownership of those plants would be the best protection for that infrastructure and support for Ukrainian energy infrastructure.
So he doesn't just want the rare earth minerals beneath Ukrainian soil now. He wants American companies in some form to go and start owning Ukraine's energy producers, their electricity and nuclear power plants. We don't learn in this statement what the reaction was to that idea from President Zelensky, but there are reports now that in Ukraine it would require a change in the law because the utilities there are currently nationalized and there is a law against their privatization. But it does give you a fresh window into the transactional nature of all of this on the part of Donald Trump. It's always, it seems, about what America can get out of Ukraine, and invariably it's about the money.
Talking about transactional things, there's a bit of a diplomatic spat going on between America and France. Tell us about that.
absolutely extraordinary story. On March the 9th, so 10 days ago, it has been revealed that a French researcher who is a scientist in the space industry flew into Houston to attend a conference on behalf of the French National Centre for Scientific Research. He was questioned by border agents at Houston Airport, who then decided that he needed to go off for secondary inspection, at which point they started going through his laptop and his cell phone, and they discovered text messages and emails critical of President Donald Trump. So he was then detained overnight, deported from the country, not allowed into the country, was told that the reason for this were the hateful and conspiratorial messages that Customs and Border Patrol agents had found on his phone and possibly on his computer as well. Messages, they said, that reflect hatred towards Trump and could even be described as terrorism. The French government now issuing official statements saying they deplore the treatment of this researcher and demanding answers from the United States about why he was denied entry to the United States. But, you know, if they're going to start going through everybody's cell phone on your way into America for your summer holiday at Disney this year or wherever else you might be thinking of going, or if you're coming here as an academic to attend a research conference, you might need to make sure that your cell phone is hygienically cleaned of any anti-Trump messages before you arrive, because at least in this case, it seems that was a reason to deny him entry to the country.
Better cleanse my Twitter feed immediately, I think, otherwise I'll never be allowed in. Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? not just to those messages either. Simon, thank you very much indeed. That's Simon Marks, LBC's US correspondent.